Look at this gravy. So nice. So we'll put some of that on our mashed potatoes and on our beef. Can't wait to try this. Hey, it's Les McDonald here, the Grey Wolf Carnivore, and I'm super excited to share a recipe with you tonight. We're going to do the full meal deal, pun intended. We're going to do carnivore mashed potatoes. We're going to do a Instant Pot roast beef, and we're going to do homemade gravy as well. I've been craving some comfort food, and I don't know about you, but as a carnivore, sometimes I just crave some good old comfort food. I got really lucky. I found a mashed potato recipe, a carnivore mashed potato recipe from Steak and Butter Gal. So thank you very much. She's got a great channel. Check it out. She also gave kudos to the guy who invented this mashed potato recipe. His name is Chris Cooking Nashville. And I've been checking out his channel, and he's just a cooking genius in terms of how he's using different kinds of foods, carnivore foods, to replicate things that can mix up our diet and our palate a little bit. So good job, Chris. Thank you very much. I'll leave links to both of their websites because they're both amazing YouTubers. You could tell they do it from their heart. They're genuine and sincere about it. So let's support our entire YouTube community, especially the people that bring these recipes. But I don't just want mashed potatoes. I want the full meal deal. Without any further ado, let's get to it. We're going to start with our Instant Pot with the pot roast. That's going to be in there for about an hour and a half. And then once that's in there cooking, we can make the rest of our recipe. Now, I like to use this recipe when I've got cuts of meat that are tough, that are lower quality, because on carnivore, what I find is if you're just buying the most tender, expensive cuts of meat, there's no way you can do this. And it is winter, and I do like me some comfort food, and there's nothing like a good roast beef. That's why I wanted to do a whole video that showed the beef and the potatoes and the gravy, but we don't all have time for roast beef. Slow braised roast beef is what I want to do. I want the gravy and I want the flavor. So we're going to use our Instant Pot. We're going to speed things up. And as you'll see here, I've got lower quality cuts of beef, but beef is beef, right? So this is a bottom blade chuck roast. These are two sirloins that I purchased that were ungraded, and they're actually quite tough, and I really didn't enjoy them, but they're going to be great for braising in a pot roast, okay? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to braise this meat in our cast iron pans. And I only cook in cast iron. Well, not exactly, because it's stainless steel in here, but for the most part, I cook with cast iron. Cast iron is wonderful to cook with. You do need a pretty good head fan if you're going to be what we're doing right now, because you're going to smoke your house up. My advice is if you do have a hood fan and it's not as high volume as you'd like, open a window a crack. It's going to allow air to come in your house, because when you suck air up your vent, you need makeup air. And most of our houses are pretty well sealed these days. So if you could just open the window a crack, it's going to allow air to come in and air to go out. All right, well, seasonings are really basic and simple, which is one of the things I love about carnivore. Now, you could do this with just salt and pepper, which I always have on hand. Nice Himalayan salt. Ground pepper just makes life easy. I am going to use a little bit of garlic powder today. The reason I'm using garlic powder is I just do like a little bit of that extra flavor. I know it's not carnivore, but we're not using a lot of it. And a lot of carnivores use just a little bit of garlic powder because, after all, we are just human. Right? We're going to sear our meat in these cast iron pans. Nothing is better for searing than cast iron. We're going to use butter in here because the butter just turns a beautiful golden brown. It adds a special flavor to our meat. That's going to make the gravy that comes out of our Instant Pot just amazing. So we're going to heat these guys up. We're going to turn on both these burners. And I have two of these set up because I do have a lot of meat. Again, I do have this bottom blade chuck roast, which on its own would be pretty chewy, and you'd have to, there's lots of great ways to cook it, but this is the bomb. Okay, so our pans are heating up. Just give that a minute. We're going to have them nice and hot to sear. It's going to get noisy, so I'm going to turn on my hood fan, okay? I got this thing on full because I'm going to be making a lot of smoke. And again, just open a window in your house a crack. I can actually feel the air coming through my window right now. That makeup air is going to help us not smoke out the house. Right, while these pans are heating up, I'm going to put on my seasoning. Now, some people like to do the seasoning overnight. I don't find it makes a huge difference, okay? So let's get these seasoned up, and by the time we have that done, you should be nice and hot. So, I like this little storage container for my salt and pepper. It's super handy. We're gonna put some salt and pepper. We're gonna just sprinkle that all around. A little bit of garlic powder. I don't like to go too hardcore. What I found is since I've been carnivore, I'm really sensitive to flavoring, so I don't need as much seasoning as I used to. We'll flip these over. Oh, these on this side now. And I find if you hold your hand up a little higher, sprinkle it even, it spreads more evenly. Isn't that nice? And a little bit of garlic powder. All right, let that sit for a minute. These pans are starting to smoke already. They don't have any oil in them. So I know we're ready to put some butter in here. I'm going to turn these out of the medium. Here we go. Put some butter in here. Real butter. I don't like it. Okay. Mix it. Nice and hot. Okay, there we go. Alrighty. You've got the carrot warmed up. Now, the reason we're searing these is that we're going to turn them nice and brown, and this is going to add to the flavor. It's going to add to the gravy. It's going to be incredible. There we go. Okay, so see how golden that butter's getting? You're going to see in a minute here. Turn that heat up a little bit. We do want this nice and hot. We want to sear these steaks. We're not cooking the steaks, we're searing them on the outside. We want to have it hot, we want to brown them, and then we want to put them in the Instant Pot as soon as we can. Probably about 5 minutes aside max. Starting to look good already. All right. The other thing I like to do is whatever cut of meat you get, this will work with any cut of steak. If you have a steak that has the bone in, it's even better. That helps add to the flavor profile. The other ingredient I forgot to tell you about is bone broth. You're going to be using bone broth in this recipe once it goes into the Instant Pot. I make my own bone broth. Easy. I have a recipe if you want to check out my channel. I'll leave a link in the description here as well. You can buy the bone broth powder. I just think bone broth is so easy to make. Why not make it yourself? And it is so good for you. I've got it on hand at all times. So I'll go grab it. Because if you look at this, there's fat on the top. This is a beautiful gelatinous homemade bone broth. And it's so good for you. And it's going to make our gravy amazing. Okay, let's see here. Now try to get that butter underneath the steak. Oh, there we got some flames. Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah, we're looking good. The nice thing is that we will be able to walk away from this for about an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on the temperature you set your Instant Pot at. And this is the most work involved, and after that, it's gravy. Fun thing. Okay, well, yeah, that's looking really good. Now, I'm going to add my remaining butter. I used half a pound of butter, okay? Because the butter really adds to the flavor of the gravy. I'll add that in there. See the color on here? How beautiful that is? Oh, amazing. Yep. Now, I should add that you want to use as thick a cut of meat as possible. You can do a big old roast and just sear it all around. These steaks are, about an inch thick, so they're pretty good. I'm going to turn this off and put this in the crock pot. I've got my oven glove on. I'm going to transfer these into the Instant Pot. Putting all the drippings in there, okay? Everything goes in here. Oh man. All right, bone broth is in there. I'm going to mix that up and then I'm going to pour it into the Instant Pot. And as well, I'm going to scoop out all of the fat that's in here because this fat that's in this broth, so good. Just take my spatula and I'm just going to stir this around here. Try to get as much off the bottom of the pan as I can. For all, we did all that hard work to sear. Let's keep the flavor. Okay, let's pour this in the Instant Pot. Easy. There we go. So we've got it set for soup broth, 1 hour and 30 minutes, and we will let it go. Okay, so the ingredients list for our carnivore mashed potatoes. Egg whites is the main ingredient. It's going to take this entire container. It's 1 kilogram. We've got Knox, gelatin. I bought this as a last resort because the gelatin that I ordered did not come in the mail on time. Thankfully, the supermarket had it. And these packets are each tablespoon, so I'm going to use 2 packets. Half a cup of sour cream, half a cup of cream cheese, half of a pound of butter, real butter. So this thing here, chop, chop, half. Mozzarella cheese, they do call for fresh. I couldn't find it, so I got this Saputo, which is a great brand. We're going to use 3/4 cup of that. We've got Himalayan salt. We're going to use about a teaspoon of that and about a teaspoon of this ground white pepper. And last but not least, grated Parmesan cheese. The recipe does call for this kind, okay? I'm not sure, you could probably try to use fresh grated, but the recipes I've seen actually call for this kind here as well. So don't want to mess the recipe up too much. And let's start by browning our gelatin. Well, it looks like my pan's getting nice and warm, so I'll put the gelatin in. There's a tablespoon there. Looks like more, but it's a small bag. Boop. And there we go. Tablespoon number 2. So it takes a couple minutes to do this. Gelatin is certainly going to become an ingredient that I use in a lot of recipes. It has so many uses, so versatile, and so carnivore. There we go, nice caramel color. There we go, perfect. Wow, look at that. So I'm going to put in my half a pound of butter. We're going to melt that down, and then we're going to put in that entire container of eggs and scramble it until there's very little moisture left in that mix. Salt and pepper to flavor. I use a lot of salt because I'm a carnivore. I'm going to put about a teaspoon of salt in here and a little bit of white pepper just for flavor. Okay, our eggs are starting to scramble. This is the most eggs I've scrambled at one time. I've got this handy tool I can use for doing mashed potatoes, but also tenderizing meat. Apparently this is handy for breaking this all up. It's working pretty good. Turn the heat down just a touch. I find this eggs are starting to stick, and that's probably a good time to turn the heat down a little. I think we're there. Put this to the side and get ready for the blending part. Still quite hot, as you can see. I literally have not let these cool down, but I hope this blender's okay with that. And now for the other ingredients. All right, so put in the mozzarella cheese chunks and about 2 tablespoons of Parmesan cheese. Oh, I don't want to overdo it yet. I have 1 cup of high-fat sour cream, half a cup of cream cheese, again high-fat. I don't like to get low-fat anything on the Carnivore. Try that. Doing this. Yep. I will add that this took a few minutes of just constantly churning up from the bottom with the blender turned off, like taking my spatula and just scooping up from the bottom and then repeating and doing it. And it was a little bit of work, but man, I think it's worth the effort. Okay, now for the big reveal. The Instant Pot has depressurized. Oop. Ho ho, we're gonna have lots of gravy. Oh, that's just fall apart. Oh, that's beautiful. Wow. See the bone in there? So all this meat's just coming off of the bone. This looks delicious. Now we're going to make a gravy out of this broth. Oh, this beef is just so juicy and tender. It's going to be so good. Well, I probably went a little heavy on the bone broth, but that'll be wonderful to make gravy with. I'm going to do an experiment here. I'm going to try to make my own gravy thickener by using butter, whipping cream, or heavy cream. I'm going to use whole eggs. Everybody else seems to use egg whites, but I'm going to try this because I hate wasting. And some gelatin as well. Let's see how that goes. So we're going to get this cast iron pan nice and warm. We're going to scramble these eggs. I'm trying to keep this simple. Everybody has these complicated recipes, and I'm hoping I can pull this off, and I'm either going to win or I'm going to fail. Let's find it. Okay, here we go. All the butter and scrambled eggs. Let this cool. I'm sure I could blend this, but I just want it to be a little cooler so that when I put in the gelatin that it doesn't just, I don't know. I'm making this up as I go along. All right, well, I said I was going to let the eggs cool, but I think in the spirit of more haste, let's get this in here now. I don't think this would be a problem in this blender. They're still hot, but they're not right out of the pan hot. So, they're a little cooler than they would be straight out of the pan. Try to get all the butter in there, everything off. All right, so this is 35% heavy cream. I'm going to put in about a cup at the most. That should be good. And now we're going to put in some of our gelatin. So I'm just going to use 1 packet of gelatin in here. I'm going to blend this up. Start on low. Probably just let it run on low for a minute. All right, take that spatula that I was using to cook the eggs with here, and we'll try to push this all down. Okay, we'll blend this again. Oh yeah. Okay, well, I'm hoping that I can pour this into this mason jar. Okay, it's already quite thick. I think this is going to be nice. It's nice and creamy. Try to get it all in there. That looks pretty good. 3 eggs, about a cup of heavy cream, and 1 little package of beef gelatin. I'm just going to make a small batch with my my thickener just in case it doesn't work out, but let's see how this goes. We're going to heat this up and get it to a light boil, and we're going to simmer it. Okay, so I've put in about 2 tablespoons of my thickener so far. Now I'm just going to maybe let this simmer for a minute while whisking. Okay, so far it's still pretty liquidy. I wonder if I should put a little more in. Okay, we're going for heaping teaspoon number 3. And I want to whisk it before it starts to harden. I don't know if it will, but safe than sorry, right? Oh, it's now I can start. It's definitely starting to thicken up a little now. Wow. All right, as it's simmering, it's starting to darken up a little bit again as well. Alrighty, wow, this beef is just falling apart. It's beautiful. So juicy. Gosh, look at that. And the mashed potatoes, they're not as thick as I'd like. I added a little bit too much sour cream, but they're still pretty good. Gourmet mashed potatoes. And look at this gravy. So nice. So we'll put some of that on our mashed potatoes. And on our beef. Can't wait to try this. This looks so delicious. So I gotta try the beef really quick. It's so tender. Wow. It's tender, so juicy and flavorful. And now for the mashed potato. I'm really curious about this because everybody claims these taste like mashed potatoes. Let's try it out. That is surprising. These are delicious. The texture is just like mashed potatoes. Mine are a bit runny. I added too much sour cream, so I'm gonna make sure in the video that I say to add half that amount. But the texture is amazing. The flavor, especially with this beef gravy and the gravy that I made. It's so good. This is comfort food all the way. You know, since I've been a carnivore, I really haven't had any like true comfort food. You know, you miss the breads, and I've made carnivore bread, and it's been great. But, you know, things like French fries and mashed potatoes, so these definitely fit the bill. I can't stop eating it. The beef is so good. That's why I wanted to do a whole video that showed the beef and the potatoes and the gravy so that you could have a nice comfort meal. So thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please hit the like button. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so. This will help me produce more videos like this if you're interested in learning more carnivore recipes. You'll have to excuse me because I have some comfort food to eat.